Let's take away pay for a minute. Let's think about how we can fix it without having to insert socialism, as some people would say, or insert any type of pay arrangement, whether it be setting a minimum certainty for payment of percentage or mileage. Let's just take away that for a minute. Now, what if we, like I explained before, change the current law? Is that too much government? If we fix the law that's already broken? So, I recently read an article on CDO Life, basically where OOIDA has sent a letter to Congress. They're saying, hey, change this law. Let's fix this loophole, this broken system that we got. What's wrong with that? Here's what they said. Dear members of Congress, the service provided by truck drivers are currently in high demand, but at the same time, many small trucking businesses are far from certain they will survive today's economic downturn. With freight rates reaching historic lows, small business truckers are struggling. Many have reached out to congressional offices and expressed frustrations not only about feeble rates, but the utter lack of transparency between brokers and motor carriers. The problem is regulations designed to ensure transparency are commonly skirted by brokers. It's practically an industry norm. While little can be done by Congress to improve rates, much more can be done in the next COVID-19 relief bill to help truckers know that they are being compensated fairly. Existing regulations require brokers to keep records of transaction motor carriers. Under Part 371.3, each party to a brokered transaction also has the right to review the record of transactions. This allows our members to know precisely how much a shipper paid the broker and how much the broker then paid the carrier. Unfortunately, brokers continue to circumvent this federal regulation in two ways. I will post a link down below. You guys can read the whole thing and how they actually circumvent. They have a loophole in the situation. But I'm going to shorten it up here. When you get your Raycon, or when you're negotiating a rate with the load and you get your paper to sign and all that, basically you're signing away your rights to that law. And that's how they get around it. A lot of these brokers are doing it, almost every single one. Or the second way they do it is they make it very hard for you to actually see what they're getting paid by the shippers. By saying, all right, well, you got to come in during business hours, which a lot of us can't do. So, like I said, if you guys want to read the full detailed part, just go check it out. Link in the description. It's off CDO Life. Also on the OOIDA website, they explain it quite well. And basically, brokers have something to hide. Why would they need to have it? Why would they need to do this loophole if they weren't hiding anything, right? If they weren't pulling some shady business, why would they need to do this loophole? If drivers have to be accountable for everything that comes to the truck and the laws, why can't brokers be accountable for their laws? And why shouldn't they follow the laws that are made for them as well? So it goes on to say, small business truckers would never get away with blatantly, deliberately evading federal regulations. Brokers must be held to the same standard. Unfortunately, rampant evasion is increasingly resulting in carriers assuming, fairly or not, that brokers have something to hide. There are two simple solutions. Require brokers to immediately provide an electronic copy of each transaction record as required by 49 CFR 371.3 once the contractual service has been completed. No exceptions. This would allow carriers to identify brokers who truly are taking advantage of them during this crisis as well as after it. And number two, explicitly prohibit brokers from including any provisions in their contracts that require a carrier to waive their rights to access the transaction records as required by 49 CFR 371.3. That's simple. There's no extra money. It's fixing a broken law. Laws get changed all the time. If something like this gets shut down, it will prove a whole lot of where we stand in the trucking industry, from owner-operators to small company drivers to small business owners, small company trucking business owners. This transparency thing needs to happen. That way, you guys can negotiate your rates better. That way, the smaller, newer guys that come into the industry desperate for loads don't take cheap freight. Like, we are our own worst enemy. New guys coming in the industry that don't know lick a shit about trucking, but decide to go buy a semi-truck, don't know the operating costs and just want to take cheap loads. Or you got the people that have like 5 people in a fucking truck and they're shitting in a hole in the floor, taking this cheap freight. We absorb most of the cost in trucking. What'd they say? The operating cost was $1.60 a mile, right? Or $1.30 a mile, whatever. Let's look at what a broker operating cost is. Just to get their license, $300 to register, non-refundable. Small business license, that can vary depending on what state. Bonds, they have a total of $75,000, and that's depending on credit score. They can they all have to pay about $900 to $1,200 premium. Insurance cost, they don't have to pay insurance. It's not required, but it is recommended. And their insurance cost is only about $3,000 per year. Now, if you look at the business equipment, like their computers, their Wi-Fi, the systems that they use for the brokerage, you're looking at about $600 to $1,200 in software. So you add up the 3, the 9, 12, 3. I mean, when you add up all these numbers, their cost is nothing compared to what our cost is. So why do they get to take so much? In fact, if you all look up on Google right now, what the average broker makes a year, $65,000. A beginning trucker only makes about $35,000 to $40,000 a year. It takes about 6 years to make that much money, and you rarely, as a company driver, will make over $60,000 a year. Now, I know there's going to be some people out there saying, oh, well, I make tons of money every year as a company driver. I'm home every night. I only work 8 hours a day, 4 days a week, and I make 20 grand a year or 20 grand a month. I don't know. You guys, you're fucking fishtail stories, all right? Like, in all reality, the reality of it is the average driver makes from $800 to maybe $1,500 a week before taxes. Now, I know that 800 is really low, but that can happen. We don't have a set number for each week. You know, if we go home, we don't make money. It's, you know, owner operators now, they probably make some money. They make about, you know, I'm not an owner operator, so you guys can definitely correct me on this. But the average owner operator can make about $250,000 a year. About $180,000 of that goes right back into taxes, the truck, the fuel, all that. Correct me if you want. I'm just saying, owner operators, unless you own like a fleet of trucks, you're making a living. You're making more. You're only going to make about $20,000 more than what a company driver makes. Maybe I'm wrong. You know, maybe you guys are perfect and you guys have some electrical truck that doesn't take up diesel and doesn't have any maintenance costs. I don't know. All I'm saying is solutions, people. Come together, find a fucking solution. There's a solution right there. So, I cannot wait to see the responses, the comments, and all the other bullshit to go and say, well, that's not a good idea. That's social. That's mess with the free market. That's whatever. Let's hear your excuses on why this won't work. Why fixing a law that's broken won't work. If we can't have money, then we fix the law that's broken. If we can't do that, then what the fuck do we do? That's all I gotta say. Peace.